Zoom, I'll start with you. Took care of business today.
Yes.
You satisfied with the way that looked?
I am. They made the adjustments in the second half. Some really good adjustments. It was really close for a little bit. Way too close.
B2A?
And then the B2A came.
Booker
Wabba.
did at the end.
Wabba.
Booker did that at the end at the
Yeah.
last sack.
A little bit of that,
A
yeah.
little bit of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
They started to flex in the second half, and that's what I really appreciate. They had their opportunities in the first half, and they did well, but at the same time, there was none of this from Shador.
You didn't want any of that, right? You didn't want any of that, right?
They didn't want any of that, but Myles Garrett was a beast.
Yep.
We try to have a plan for him, but obviously, we try to minimize him as much as possible, but he's going to be Myles Garrett. We understand that, but at the same time, this is what I wanted to see out of the Chicago Bears. I wanted them to come out and handle business, and they did that.
Listen, there are players I think that are starting to stand out, and Jackson, he's a guy that is making the most of his opportunity, and yes, it was certainly B2A by the end of that game, but I think there are players that are solidifying themselves as as part of who are our best 11 going to be moving forward. And it's not just we're at the tail end of this season and going into the postseason soon, but in 2026, these are guys that are making enough name for themselves to say, hey, listen, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Jackson, these are guys that are saying, hey, listen, I want to be a part of this team. Mm-hmm. So I'm really happy to see that because we've had a ton of injuries and we've had guys that have filled in, have done a decent job or a good job in replacement.
Yeah, I thought these one of those games that we saw in the past with the Bears teams that they would let a team like Cleveland take them down to the wire and maybe have a chance to win the game. But what I loved the most was offensively, what we saw from Caleb. I thought this was one of his best performances because accuracy has been spotty at times.
Yep.
Yeah.
One half really great, the other not so much. What we saw from the beginning was the accuracy on point.
Absolutely.
And some of those easy throws, right, the tight end chip out and go, those are normally throws he would miss. Mm-hmm. He'd overthrow. He'd underthrow them. And then some of the quick out routes, right, to Loveland and company was right on the money. Mm-hmm. So that's what I love to see because we know he has the talent, right? You see it at times. You're like, man, this guy throws the ball like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. But the inconsistency is what we've seen. But going forward, before a game like Green Bay especially, that is huge. I think this was a confidence-building game, not only for the offense, but I think the defensive line in general, because they've struggled with pressure. Was it perfect today? No.
Nope.
But I think anytime you can generate pressure with your front four, going into a game like Green Bay where they struggled last time, I think it gives them confidence, especially a guy like Booker who's a younger guy. He's going to be fired up next week. Montez Sweat and company. Grady Jarrett came home for the first time.
He came alive, yeah.
So I think it's huge to get that confidence before Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean – I want to circle back to the defense for a second too, because Briggs, I asked you this question during the game. I kind of want you to share your answer again with the audience. Just DeMarco Jackson, this has been pretty tremendous. I mean, when Tremaine Edmonds went down, that seemed like a big deal because he was looking like he was having a Pro Bowl season.
Yeah,
and Jackson steps in and he just seems to be playing fast, playing with instincts, finding the football. There's a chance, guys, Edmonds is going to be eligible to come off IR this week. I don't know if he will or not. I have seen him in the locker room more in the last couple weeks, so it seems like he's around and maybe could come back. But I guess it's a good problem to have, sort of like what you have with your corners now that everybody's starting to get healthy again except for Kyler. I'm just kind of curious if you think this is sustainable for DeMarco Jackson based on what you've seen these last 3 games.
I think it's sustainable. I think it's sustainable mostly because of his effort. He stepped on the field and had 15 tackles. He stepped on the field and had 14 tackles. And that part you have down. Now you put together your prep. You put together your Wednesday practice, okay? Inside drill, you're going to get 6 of their best runs. In team, you're going to get 10 to 12 of their best offensive plays. These are plays you're going to see the most on Sunday. So now you get to a point where you're not thinking, oh, they might do this, they might do that. All right, in this formation, that I'm going to read my keys. They're going to take me exactly where I need to go. I'm going to play exactly what I see. I'm going to play it fast, and I'm going to get there and I'm going to be physical in the point of attack. So with all of those being said, he, I think, is doing all of those things. He's not perfect. And there are things that he still obviously still needs to work on, but it's a great position. It's a great issues to have to work on with a player like that. You can work with that.
We also have to give it up to the coaching staff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaching staff have done a tremendous job with this football team, and with and getting guys prepared to go out there on Sundays and play football. Like we've obviously we have our starters and they're legit, but you have the backups, and we've been playing a lot of backups. And coaching matters when the backups are around. You know, so the backups are coming in and they're making plays and they're playing fast. They're playing with an attitude. And they know what the game plan is. They're not like timid or scared. They see something, they go and they react and they go get it right now. So cheers to the coaching staff for like really understanding to put these guys in really good situations and positions to go out there and make plays.
They've done a great job. So Ben Johnson on the offensive side, right, from the injuries, from the left tackle position, from different things here and there, Cole Kmet being out for a little bit, and then defensively having all three of your starting linebackers out for a while and still being able to stack wins.
Having prepared.
Having a front four that can't generate pressure, figuring out, dialing up blitzes. So what they've been able to do is unbelievable with the adjustments, because that's the mark of good coaches. You're never going to have everything perfect. You're not going to have all the weapons, all the arsenal that you need. But it's about how can I work within what I have and win games. And that's something they've done. Yes. So, yeah, they're lacking because you look at every great team. A lot of these teams that have great records, the common denominator they usually have, especially defensively, is a great front four. Yeah. And the Bears, we could look at their team as a whole, and we'd say that's probably the weakest spot.
Yeah. And you look at – let's go back a few years when – the dream team was assembled in Philly. You know, they had a plethora of talent, but the coaches couldn't pull it together.
Right.
You know, and so coaching is huge. You know, when you have a team and this team, you know, they've been building this team for a little while. You know, from the traded draft picks and having been able to have numerous amount of draft picks and capital, you know, to spend. I think we're getting a chance to see the team that's been brought together flex a bit. You know, now they're able to flex because of the coaching that they have.
Absolutely.
I also think, like, it's really been on both sides of the ball. This is as much as development within a season that I can remember covering the team over the last 15 years, like of just like the amount of guys, whether they're rookies or they're a DeMarco Jackson that came over from somewhere else, or even a more like a veteran like C.J. Gardner-Johnson who was, you know, sitting on his couch for a while. Just whatever it is, these guys developing, fitting in. I look at the left tackle situation, guys, and like it could have been a disaster this year if you think about it. Like they've played 3 different left tackles. We forget about Braxton Jones. Theo did an admirable job when he was in there. Then they're like, all right, we got this second rounder. You get your opportunity. And like it definitely was not perfect today with Ozzie going up against Myles Garrett, but that's Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett.
You know, and like I feel like they're surviving, and you know, the coaching point with him is probably going to be like you were reacting too much. You were catching a little bit too much instead of being more aggressive, which I remember Dan Rochar, the offensive line coach, talking about back in August being the problem when they moved him back to right tackle. Yeah. That he just so clearly they've worked on that where it's gotten better. It's still not perfect, but they can work with it. So, I mean, do you feel like, I don't know who wants to take this, but do you feel like they can continue to survive with their left tackle situation? Because here comes Micah Parsons again. They're going to get a little bit of a break against the 49ers, but then you got Aiden Hutchinson the week after that, and who knows who you're going to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they can manage with Tripio out there. I think they're going to have some chip help because, you know, next week you got one of the baddest dudes, next week in Micah Parsons as well. So Aiden Hutchinson, like you talked about, I think it's all about scheming, and I think the more he becomes comfortable, Tripio that is, because I know this week he was probably really nervous going against a guy like Myles Garrett. You heard Trent Williams talking about that a couple weeks ago, how he was nervous. Well, he's like, man, I'm glad I don't have to see you anymore. So Myles Garrett's one of the best to ever do it. But I think they can win with Tripio. It's all about him getting comfortable, getting the chip help, especially knowing your matchups and when you can help him out.
But, you know, it's also he's putting together the resume of what to do against him. You know, so when you look at, okay, we're going to chip him, but he's going to sit back. He's going to kick back and sit back. That's exactly what we want him to do. So if he's going to do that, let's get him in this situation where we're going to get him to chip. And what we're going to do, you work your move off of him. All right? It's going to work it worked for Myles. Micah, it's going to work for you.
Right.
You know, so there's a little level of concern when we go in and we play the Packers because there is a recipe for that. And a lot of times, you know, when you get chip help, it's supposed to nullify you. They got chip help and he was getting a sack. You know, he was getting to the quarterback.
But the coaches also understand that that's a deficiency that he has. So they're going to scheme some things also to make him not really out there. Yeah, get him exposed
some
to being
draws,
out there. Yeah,
right? Get them all balanced.
And they've done a great job with that all year long, you know, with the schemes. So, like I said, shout out to the coaching staff for really understanding how to put these guys in positions to win.